guys, welcome to another episode of our live season. So, in this episode, we're gonna be talking about something that's very close to my heart. It's something that I've been working on for the past few months, I think last year to this year, and it's something that I keep talking about. So, it's being alone but not lonely. So, I think what I want to talk about in this episode is more about how to fill your own cup first. And I'm talking to a very specific group of people that are like me, I mean, the past me, whereby we have people pleasing tendencies. So if you've not oh my god, I can't speak. If you have not heard about it, it's basically how you identify yourself as someone that people pleases. You often find yourself feeling emotionally tired or you need time alone. You find it hard to say no to people. I think this is one of the biggest telltale signs of you being a people pleaser. You often feel used by others but is afraid to actually confront people or to talk about your thoughts and to set boundaries. So if you relate to any of this or if you feel like this, then yeah, I'm talking to you. You're just like me, like the past me where I used to people please. I feel like people pleasing is something that is deemed as really negative, but I don't see it that way. I came to realize that, we are all humans and we want to put others first, right? We find it really hard to say no to people because I don't know, like I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to uncovering like the root problem as to why you would want to people please. There's no good and bad. It's just, to understand yourself and to realize why you've been acting like a certain way or why you find it hard to say no to people. And what I tend to find is that when I was working through this myself, I find that it's a lot on like the childhood experiences that I have. Whenever I say no to people, or I just find it really hard to say no to people for whatever reason it is. So I feel like for you, it might be the same as well. So today we're just gonna be uncovering this topic and talking about, how I actually went on a journey of being alone but not lonely. Because if you know me, and I mentioned about this, I think in the previous few episodes, where it's very hard for me to be alone. I used to be so afraid of being alone because I feel like when I'm seen alone, like having a meal alone or just outside alone, I feel like I don't know, I feel like I get judged in a sense, or like I just when I see people being alone, I would feel that, it's so sad that they don't have like friends or like yeah, I would pity them. So because I would pity people, I think I tend to think that people would pity me as well. Right? I think it's more of like an ego thing and yeah, just all that self judgments like issues. So I would say that I used to be like that. I used to be a people pleaser, especially to people whom I deemed as like of a higher authority, people who are better than me, people who are smarter than me, people who are more capable than me, which is basically majority of the people in my life. This is just my perspective and how I used to tell myself that there are so many people out there that are more capable than me. So this very statement, you can actually tell like how low confidence, like how much confidence I actually have with myself, like with my capabilities, which is very, very, very low. I don't have much confidence because I always tend to seek validation from whoever that I'm with, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in work, which I realize like drain me out a lot. And if you're like that as well, you seek validation from like people or from people outside of yourself, anyone else other than yourself, you realize that you get drained real fast. So I can totally relate to you if you feel like that. I won't be telling you things like, oh, set your boundaries, just tell people off like straight in your face, because I know that shit don't work. Especially like if you can, you would have done that, right? You have done that long ago. It's not about I feel like it's not that we don't know what to do. It's more of like we don't know how to go about doing it in a way that feels good and safe in our body. And we don't want to come across as, rude, or we don't want to come across in a wrong way whereby we will get misunderstood. So here's my story. Be it at work or be it in relationship, I would always place others' needs first. I'll always place their needs first before mine, and I'll kick mine aside so that it really depends on who I'm with. But no matter what happens, like my needs and desires I will always put it to the side, and I always think about uh what others want or what others need. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but more of like I'm saying this is a part of me where I'm trying to fill up the certain void within myself by placing other people's needs, because then I want to be seen as someone who is respectful, who's not rude, that, because I feel like oftentimes when you talk about people pleasing, or rather when you talk about placing your needs first, a lot of times people would tell you that it's really selfish, or you would think that people would think that you're being selfish or you're being arrogant. So I think this is the perception, or this is the perspective that we have on putting yourself first, on the concept of self-love, which I feel like right now there are a lot of people talking about it. It's not as stigmatized as it used to be last time, but there's still, this icky feeling when it comes to, putting yourself first and asking you to place your needs and desires first, asking you what do you exactly want out of your life, aside from whatever that is whatever like people's opinion of you are about. I would say that um one of the few things that I notice for myself is that I constantly need validation. Like I mentioned, I constantly need validation from others. I need to be surrounded by people, and I cannot be alone because I'm constantly seeking something outside of myself, whether or not it's validation, whether or not it's approval, whether or not it's permission to be myself. So it's really bad, like really, really bad. If you are like this now, I totally understand how, it may seem that you may think that it's disrespectful, or you may think that, by prioritizing your emotions and yourself first and your needs before others, you are being really selfish. And I get that. I totally get that. But to some, prioritizing themselves comes easily. And, they are often judged as someone who's self centered and arrogant, right? But I want you to know that these two are very, very different type of people. So someone who is self centered and who is arrogant, right, does not care how others feel or think of them. They always feel like they're better than the rest. But for people who actually value uh themselves and prioritize their needs first, they set boundaries and they're very upfront about it, but in a very respectful way. Okay, so if you're worried that you'll come across as someone that is self-centered or arrogant, I can assure you that you are not at all. In fact, if you're worried about this, it shows that you actually care about how others feels. So to extent that you're just a little too much, you care a little too much, that you neglect yourself. Okay, so like anything else, the first step I would say is to identify that this is something that you're ready to work through. Because if you're not ready, and which is okay, it's okay that you're not ready. Whatever I'm about to say, right, would not change a thing at all. If you're not ready to take in new like mindset shifts, or if you're not ready to work through this, then I would say that, take some time to sit on it, to think about it, and come back whenever you're ready. Okay, but for those who are ready to work this through and be someone that, fills your own cup first, so that you can actually give back to others while, having people respect your boundaries and release the feeling of, being used and not being able to stand up for yourself, then if you're ready, I would say that, you got to understand that every single time you say yes to someone or to something, you're saying no to yourself. Okay, every time that you're saying yes to someone, you're saying no to yourself. In this context, it's more about, whenever someone asks you to do certain things, or whenever someone requests certain things from you, and you are not really inclined to give or to do certain things, but you end up saying yes, then I would say this is when you're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your needs, you're saying no to your self-respect, you're saying no to whatever it is that you desire. Okay, so every time you choose to do something for others, even when you don't feel like it, forcing yourself, like I mentioned, you're subconsciously telling yourself that you're not as important, your feelings are not validated, and you're not your highest priority. Okay, and that has to go, that has to change now. So this is not like a one-off healing process. It's a journey where you constantly reflect on, your people pleasing tendencies, to love yourself and care for yourself first. Because like I mentioned a lot of times, like healing is a journey. Working on yourself is a long journey. It's not a one-off thing. It's not like, when you work on yourself today or for a few months, then you don't have to work on yourself anymore. It's not like that. Because in life, a lot of things comes up like impromptu, or as you grow, you learn a lot more lessons, and there's a lot of more things that you need to work through. Not in a bad way, but in a good way, whereby, new level, new devil, whereby you are faced with different challenges that you have not dealt with in the past, and now you're ready to deal with it. Because I always believe that in life, the universe always gives us things that we are capable of handling. So if you're faced, a certain situations where you felt like it was too much to handle, then how I would look at it is a way whereby, you're ready to up level. That is that situation that you needed for you to actually level up, for you to actually learn certain lessons to help you move on with life, to enter the next phase of your life. Okay, so healing is a long ass journey, and it's an ongoing journey, but it's definitely one that is worth it. Okay, I can tell you that because I'm still on my journey. But looking back, all the healing journey that I did was so worth it, and I am who I am today. I have the mindset that I have today because of whatever that happened. So what I found really helpful, right, is to actually start spending more time with yourself. I know this may sound really scary, and I mentioned this before in the previous episodes and in the previous podcast where, I decided that I was going to heal regardless, and I allowed myself to do the most uncomfortable thing ever, which was to sit with myself and see what comes up, to sit with my thoughts in silence. No music, no nothing, just the environment noise, like the background noises, which is basically in my room, and just, yeah, be silent, sit with myself and see what thought comes up. I think this is the most uncomfortable thing that anyone can do because we are not used to it. It's out of our comfort zone, and I can tell you that so many people are not doing it because we're oftentimes, like on the go doing certain things. So thoughts like sitting with yourself would never come up, and I understand why. So it may sound scary to you, it may not, especially if you have never sat alone in silence before. I can bet that majority of you, like I mentioned, are not doing it, or it hasn't crossed your mind before, because there's just so much going on in our lives, right, that we don't have time, right? So if this is your reason for not actually spending time with yourself, like I mentioned, no music, nothing, just you and your thoughts, then I would say please go and listen to episode 4 of the podcast, where I share like my concept of time and how I have actually created more time in a day without burning out or sacrificing on your sleep. It's a good one, okay? It's not your typical time blocking and time management tips. We go deep into the roots of the problem. So go and give it a listen if you haven't. So back to the topic, the more uncomfortable you feel with this idea of sitting alone with your thoughts, right? The more you actually need it, the more you should give it a go. Because it means that if you're so uncomfortable with this idea, it means that you're not doing it enough. It means that it's something new that, your soul actually craves for it. Your inner child is screaming for you to be alone with her or him and just spend time so that they can tell you, what is it that you actually really need to work on. I know this sounds a little bit like much for some if you're not into the whole manifestation and the whole like self-help, self-development journey, like you're not in it. But I would say that basically how I like to see inner child is just someone that is a younger version of me, someone that has gone through a lot of trauma. And trauma, when I say trauma, it doesn't have to be like the biggest thing, like of people passing on or just abusive environment and stuff like. It doesn't have to be like that. Trauma, it can be small little things that adds up, that forms your subconscious mind. So this is what I call trauma, small or big. I would just label it as trauma. Okay, so because as someone who used to be a people pleaser, right, I find it hard to say no and set boundaries or even voice out like my honest feelings. Basically, someone who does not value herself enough to prioritize her own needs and own her truth. So sitting alone, right, was actually like the last thing I would do. But who knew that it was going to be something that is so impactful for me and something that I feel like I really needed and was the life changer for me. So try out, let me know how it goes, okay? So seriously, it works better than, your typical idea of starting small and, sit down with someone who doesn't respect your boundaries and tell them about your boundaries and lay it out, and having that fear of them pushing it further and having this confrontational like conversation. Because if you're like me, I know that this shit don't work for me at all, and it probably don't work for some of you too. So by now, you should know that I'm only sharing what works for me and what I've actually tried. No hate to people who are giving those advice of, going up to people or that disrespect you and confront them. Because if you're not a confrontational person, just like me, you'll find it super uncomfortable, and it's not something that you want to do. And that's fine. Okay. So it doesn't work for me. So I'm just giving you, alternatives to these advisors if those advisors don't vibe well with you. and what I've actually found really helpful for myself. So spending quality time alone with yourself will eventually help you to learn the art of being alone but never lonely, and understand the true meaning of actually valuing yourself first, putting yourself first, enjoying your own company. And you no longer need anyone to justify your emotions, to justify your thoughts, to tell you what is right or wrong, because you feel strongly about a certain way and you know that your feelings are validated, your thoughts are justified, and that's enough by you. Okay, justifying your thoughts and your feelings is something that only you can do and you can approve, like, by yourself. You don't need someone to tell you that, oh, this is the right emotion to feel, this is the wrong emotion to feel, because everyone is just so different. Okay, so by doing all this, you're learning to fill your cup up first. I always believe that, by filling your own cup first, then you'll be able to give back to the people around you, to care for them wholeheartedly, but at the same time being able to protect your own energy. So you won't actually allow anything to affect the way you view yourself, because you have worked on yourself enough to know that, how you view others, oh no, how you view yourself is how others view you. Okay, if you show yourself enough respect, people will want to respect you too. If you set your boundaries, people will learn to respect you because you respect you. Okay, I'll say it again. If you set your boundaries and you don't allow people to step all over you, and you respect yourself, people will respect you because you respect you. Okay, it works both ways. The energy and the vibe that you give out there, how you treat yourself is how people will treat you. Because imagine this, like when someone looks at you and sees how well you treat yourself with respect, you value your time, you don't take any bullshit from the rest, people would know that she's not someone that, I want to mess with. Okay, so let's go in depth as to, what you will be thinking about when you're spending this alone time with yourself, because I feel like that is the key. It's the time that you spend with yourself. What you think about during this timing, emphasize on, no, if let's just say you're emphasizing on how incapable you are, and how, you're not good enough as compared to someone else's, then it defeats the whole purpose of you spending the alone time. Okay, so how you do this is to take 5 minutes every single day, be in a space that is private and is comfortable for you. I like to do it in my bedroom, like right now, like this setup here, because I find that this most it's my own space. Like this whole room is just filled with my own vibe and energy, and I feel really comfortable in wherever that is for you. It may be your bedroom, it may be somewhere else, like your own private space. I would say that the most important part is for you to feel comfortable in where you are at, to feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable. Okay, because I can tell you that there are going to be a lot of emotions that will be coming up, a lot of thoughts that will be coming up, that you need to grieve past. Okay, so yeah, do it in a place that you're comfortable with. So I would choose a time whereby, if let's just say I have to do it at home, right, I would choose a time whereby no one is at home. And if let's just say you have someone that is constantly at home, I will let them know, to give me just 5 minutes of a time being alone. And if you're really shy about it, like how I was, I would say that, I'll be having a call or meeting, and I would ask them to not disturb me until I come out of the room. So do whatever it is that works best for you, whether it's a white lie or, whatever it is that allows you to be comfortable. Okay, comfort is key in this scenario. So for the first few times that I did this, there were a lot of confusion and discomfort that comes up. I know for many it will be the same as well, because it's the first time that you're doing this. Your body naturally would reject to this idea of sitting in silence. Okay, sit through it. Trust me, it's really worth it. Don't give up right away, because I feel like this is when it's the key. If you persist and you continue to sit in this silence and sit in this discomfort, you would actually reveal the roots of the problem. You will allow your inner child, your inner self to actually come up and let you know the main issue or the main problem as to why you would have all these people pleasing tendencies, or like why would you feel a need to put others' needs first. So trust me, sit through it. It's gonna be very, very uncomfortable. It's a long journey, and the duration of this really varies for everybody, but I would say that it's really worth it. So yeah, just sit through it. Don't give up right away. Okay, so it's okay even if you just sit there and you start getting distracted on, what's on your face, what's on your hair, etc. I want you to start being comfortable with being around yourself, just you alone. So this is the whole purpose of it. Okay, you may get distracted at the first few minutes, or even like the first few times that you're doing this. Just flow with it. Okay, just flow with it. So repeat this for a few times. You build up the days that you'll be doing this. So let's just say you start like 1 to 2 days a week, then you increase to 3 to 4 days the second week, and so forth. So once you complete a week, right, increase the duration for 5 to 10 minutes. This is just a guide. I wouldn't recommend to actually set an alarm for this or a timer for this, because you are not here to clock time. Okay, you're not here to clock the hours. Take however long you need to start building up the comfort of being alone. Tap into your intuition. If you're done at 3 minutes, then 3 minutes, 3 minutes it is. Don't go more than that. Don't go less than that. You'll know when you're ready. Okay, consistency and discipline is key in this case. Okay, so eventually you actually enter a phase where you start beating yourself up for not standing up for yourself. You feel bad for not putting your needs first, for allowing others to dictate how you feel about yourself. um you will feel helpless because there's nothing that you can do or nothing that you have done for yourself. I would say that you start entering this loop of self-pity and agony. Let it happen. Let yourself do that. I know this may sound insane, this may sound crazy. There are a lot of people or coaches that are telling you to not do it, to not sit there and allow yourself to spiral into this negativity and this loop of self-pity. But trust me, after doing everything and after trying everything out, I realized that this was the best way, and this was actually how I healed. I stopped for the longest period of time. I've always been avoiding how I feel. I've always been avoiding. I have this avoidance like mentality of, I can't sit with myself. I don't want to know what I'm thinking. I don't want to know the deepest roots of my problem, because then it means I have to deal with it. But when I decide to just let go and to allow myself to feel all these emotions, is when things switch. Like everything just like changes 180. Okay. Why? Because the more you resist these emotions, the more you resist looking at, the deeper issues, you will actually go further away from the truth, further away from the roots of the problem. Because like I mentioned, you're just avoiding it. Okay. So this part of you have to die. So grieve her, like grieve him, grieve her, grieve this part of you where you let go of all, you release all these emotions and you let go of it. Face her for the first time, face this version of you for the first time and also the last time. I like to think of this person, this inner child, as a 16-year-old me. Hold space for her, to tell her, to allow her to tell you how she really feels and why she feel this way. Because trust me, as time pass, as you are sitting alone in the room, you would start finding like yourself thinking about certain things, whether or not it may start off as just whatever that happens on in that day, or whatever that happened in the morning, and then what how you feel and stuff like that, to a point whereby you start digging deeper and think about, why would I be like that, why would I feel like that, why would I allow someone to treat me this certain way. So that's when you hit the jackpot. That's when you start opening up, this portal of allowing yourself to figure out, how you want to move on from there. Okay, so it may take up to weeks, it may take up to months, but all I ask for you is to be consistent, even on days that you don't feel like it, even on days that you feel so tired that you don't want to sit there and just be in silence. I would say that persist, continue to do it even on days that you don't like it, because it's like going to the gym, right? You dread going to it at first, and then as you persist, you realize that it's not so bad after all, right? You, without knowing, you actually start falling in love with the satisfaction from it. So like for myself, I started falling in love with the satisfaction of being able to be alone and to think about what comes up. It becomes like a game to me. I'll be like, okay, so what am I working on today? Like what's coming up today? What would I need to know today? What am I working on? Like it allows me to go in with this excitement of like, okay, I'm moving forward in life. I'm doing something that allows me to change my mind like every single day. It allows, I feel like I'm improving, I'm getting somewhere, at least I'm doing something to heal myself, instead of just letting my thoughts run wild and not thinking about it, or not catching all the thoughts that are like building up, that's leading me to this like really negative mindset. So I would say, warning, there will be a lot of emotions that that comes up that you never thought about it before, or things that you thought was done, you've gone through the healing phase and stuff like that. Lessons you've thought you have learned, they will all come up. And when that happens, it is the perfect time to dissect each and every single one of them. I know all these may sound a lot of work, but honestly, when you're in the flow, you don't even feel it at all. You will start just working through it yourself. Like what I found for myself is that when things come up, or when I start to catch certain thoughts that I've been thinking for the past few years, or certain emotions that I've been feeling for the past few years, I work through it. I tend to coach myself on it because of all the books that I've read. So I feel like the first important step, right, is to actually pick up a book to read, whether or not it's audiobook or whether or not it's physical book, however you want it, an ebook. Just absorb knowledge so that you can actually expand your mind. Because when you expand your mind and allow yourself to know, like, the different possibilities or the different perspective of life, you take on others' perspective. Even for like this podcast as well, as you're listening to this, you may learn a thing or two. You may find certain things interesting. I'm not saying that you need to take on every single thing that I'm talking about, because this is my journey. It may work for me but not work for you. But I would say that spark that little interest and be like, oh, that's interesting, like, be curious and try to dig deeper as to let me try this and see whether it works for me, let me try that and see whether it works for me. And then you will kind of find your own way, and eventually you'll find the sweet spot as to allowing your mind to expand and be open to a lot of different teachings in life, and just be in the flow, allow you to really be in the flow. Okay, so let me give you an example. One of the things that came up to me was that I wasn't feeling supported by my partner back then. And I had the mindset of, oh, it's his fault. Like, why can't he show me support? Why does he have to put me down in this way? Why can't he understand? Why is he not interested in the things that I'm interested in? Because when I'm someone who really loves to talk about the things that I've learned, whether it's from a book or from a podcast that I listen to, I love to share. That's why this podcast. So I felt resentful when he wasn't interested in it. Okay, so I caught myself thinking this way time and time again. And the first question that I asked myself was, why would I feel this way? Like, what did he do or not do that made me feel so unsupported? So I start to dig deeper into like the issue, right? So I would go on and say that he's always like so disinterested when I talk about the books that I've read or the things that I like. And then I would go and ask myself, like, it's like a debate with myself, why would he not support you? Like, what does he have to gain from not supporting you? So that's when I had silence in my mind. And this silence was so loud that I knew the answer. I knew the answer was nothing. Like, he has nothing to gain out of not supporting me. And I only felt that because I think, like, I wasn't worthy enough to be supported. So the main issue of all of this resentment was because I felt like I wasn't worthy enough to be supported. I wasn't worthy or capable enough that someone wants to support me. So this was like the limiting belief that I actually have. So knowing that, it allows me to look at this in a deeper issue and be able to work through it. So the last question I asked myself was, so what can I do now in this present moment to change this mindset, to change this limiting belief that I have? So in this case, what can I do now in this present moment to start feeling worthy enough of support, of people's support, to start welcoming people's support? So the answer was clear, to actually start supporting myself first, be my biggest supporter. And that means I don't need someone else to tell me, that they are interested in what I'm interested in. I can support myself, and I can support the interest that I have. I fully embody whatever interest that I have, and be able to tell myself that, what, it's okay. I enjoy this, and this is me, and I am my biggest supporter. Okay. So sometimes it takes a little bit more probing than other times, but you get the idea, right? It's to keep going until you are at a loss of words, like you don't know what else to say, and until you have this aha moment whereby you have instant clarity and of release and relief. Okay, so do this long enough and you start realizing that you can do it anywhere and anytime in an instant. You are more aware of your thoughts, and you can catch negative thoughts and self-depreciating thoughts when it pops up, and you know how to handle it. Because I used to do it in the bedroom, And then as time passed, I'll do it, in the train when I'm commuting to work. I start catching myself on like things that I used to tell myself. Like I'll be like, oh, this is a bad thought. Like, why would I think that I'm not worthy enough? Why would I think that I'm not capable enough? Why do I think that, I'm not someone that is worthy of respect? So a lot of things like, self-worth comes up. So that's when I'll start to pick them up and start to grind myself and to make sure that, I get it um over and done with. Okay, so think of it as a game. I would say that to always think of life as a game. Life is literally just a game. Go with the flow. Whatever comes up, you deal with it. It's like a whack-a-mole, right? It's nothing serious, just impactful. That's all. No pressure. Okay, everything that you come up with, don't beat yourself up for having that thought or having the emotions. Just look at it, appreciate it for trying to protect you, moving on with it. Like, how can you change that thought now? Like, what can you do to actually remove that limiting belief from your life now? Okay, so to put everything into conclusion, I just want to say that, like, putting everyone else before you is actually the most selfish thing that you can do. Okay, because by doing that, you don't feel your own cup is actually empty. You don't fill your cup first. Then you need others to actually fill up for you. So this may look like, seeking validation from the rest and waiting for permission to be yourself. So here's the catch. No matter how good you treat someone, they are not obliged to reciprocate. Okay, that's just the reality of things. And when you do not receive that, your cup will always remain empty. If you're constantly looking for someone to fill up your cup, and when that person doesn't reciprocate, your cup will always remain empty. You'll always be filled with resentment. Okay, and that's when you start to feel unfair. You resent, you beat yourself up for not being able to be strong enough to stand up for yourself. Okay, it's always on the power is always on, the other people's hands. Like, you don't have control. You feel like you don't have control of your life. Okay, that's something that you don't want to have, because we all have control of our own life. We all have control, like, as to what we think or what comes up. Okay, so I hope you understand that by prioritizing yourself and value your existence on this earth is the best type of self-care that you can actually do for yourself. I know self-care, a lot of times when we talk about self-care, it's about putting on masks, going for facials, taking a bath, going for walks, spending time with yourself. But not a lot of people tell you that self-care literally is the best self-care that you can do is to put yourself first, is to prioritize yourself first. Okay, so imagine if you were to not value yourself enough, that you think that, whatever like that you have is not valuable. Whatever that you have, people will not want to hear. Imagine that I were to think like that. Imagine that, I don't value myself enough to think that whatever I have to say is not valuable. Whatever I told you, or whatever that I'm saying in this few episodes of our life seasons is not valuable. I'm actually robbing you away from the knowledge that I have experienced through my experience, and then um that may be something that is exactly what you need to grow. And if I were to think that I'm not capable enough, or I'm not important enough to share that, or I don't want to share that with you, I'm robbing you from the experience. And that is doing you a disjustice, and doing me like injustice. So that's why I want you to understand that no matter what, value your self-respect more than anything else, okay? Because think about it, the times that you've thought that someone else was amazing because she's able to, know what she wants and have clear boundaries and cut off people who are not respecting that, this can be you too. And you'll get there, like, just one thing at a time. And you just have to think of one thing. Just hold on to one thing. Learn to enjoy the time that you spend with yourself. Okay, know that you are valuable enough, that you value yourself enough. Oh my god, you value yourself enough that the people around you will start responding to you, your needs, and your desires. Okay, always put yourself first. I can't actually tell you how important it is when you start respecting yourself, right? Like, the people around you start knowing and start seeing that. Because for me, I have difficulty setting boundaries, right? And I've only recently started to set boundaries with certain people in my life. And I can tell you that I would think, I would come up with all sorts of scenarios where I think that they wouldn't respect my boundaries, or it's so hard for me to set boundaries with them because I'm so close with them. But when I start to work through it, and when I start to tell myself that, you know what, I'm gonna show my boundaries through actions, a way that is more comfortable for myself, that's when you start to realize that people understand and people don't, cross your boundaries. Because I will often think that, when you talk about setting boundaries, you need to be so hard up and harsh and sit someone down and be like, look, here's my boundaries, don't step on it. And I'm not someone that likes to do that. I'm not confrontational. So a very good example is that, when I have this self-care routine of, keeping it like morning meditation, where I don't like to be disturbed. I don't like to, turn on my phone and start seeing notifications and stuff like that. So my mom is someone that she's really like, she's a morning person and I'm not, right? So during the weekends when we're both home, when I like to start my morning with my morning routine, she would come in and she would just like want to like update me on like her weekends, weekdays and stuff like that, which I totally understand and I get it, and I would love to hear it, but I need that time for myself to have a good start. So how I set boundaries with her was to not sit her down and tell her, that this is my boundaries, but more of like, I would lock my door in the morning and I would just do like my morning routine, or I would wake up earlier and do my morning routine when she's still asleep. So these are like little steps that you can take to set your boundaries. There are a lot of ways to set boundaries. Even let's just say setting boundaries with your boss or your I don't know, someone that is managing you per se, right? Like, if you value work-life balance, setting boundaries with them can be like not answering your call after 6 or 6:30, whatever time that you end. Sooner or later, they will understand that, oh, she's not someone that, you can contact after that. If they want to contact you, they can contact you within this period of time. So they would know and they will respect it. For people who don't respect your boundaries, just cut them off in a nice way, whereby you don't create drama. Just tell them that, look, you've, like step onto my boundaries and I'm not happy about it. So either work it through, or what you can do is you can silently distance yourself away from them if you're not confrontational. Okay. So this is just some of the ways that, start setting boundaries and start respecting yourself enough to know that, you are of value. That when you start valuing yourself, people will start valuing you too. Okay. So that's all for today's episode. I hope that you gain a little lesson or two, or you start actually really learning how to sit with yourself and spend more time with yourself to see what comes up. So I'll see you in the next episode next week. Bye.